still in front of the Diddy courthouse. I'm calling it the Diddy courthouse. I'm still in front of 500 Pearl Street where the Diddy trial is taking place. Let me tell y'all, fireworks went off today. This morning, I literally got out of bed saying, yo, things are not gonna be crazy today. I'm not having a dress suit, a dress shirt, or a suit on. Things are just gonna be a nice, calm, cool, collective day. Hell no. I woke up to charges being allegedly dropped and to find out it was just predicate acts that were dropped. What up, Melva? Then we go into the courtroom. It's been a crazy, crazy, crazy day. It was only supposed to be 2 hours. It ended up being, 5.5, almost 6 hours. It's 7:48 right now. This is like the latest day court has ever adjourned. Everything has been crazy. The judge got up and got frustrated. He walked out. Like, it's been a seriously crazy, intense day. Sit back, I will tell you guys all about it. You know, whenever you plan to be like, oh, I'm just gonna have a little easy, chill day today, half day at work, and it ends up being like the craziest day of all. Craziness, man. All right, let me see who's in here quickly. Say hi. Melva, what up? Oh, I said hi to Melva right now. Tori D, Chef Don, Ray, Beth, Natasha, Beverly, Sharon, Dorothy, Morgan, Joyce, Grace, everybody, what up? All right, Miss International. Miss International, I see you here a lot, like how Melva is. All right, what up, y'all? Okay, I'm about to lose sun, so let me get to you. I normally stay on for like an hour and a half. We do not have that kind of time right now. I will also not have time to do my regular podcast tonight because tomorrow is going to be a big day with closing arguments. So I'll try to stay on maybe around 20 or 30 minutes and let you guys know what has been going on today. The explosion from the judge, who is normally super calm, cool, and collective. This guy was, it was intense. It was intense, okay? So officially today is day 30. Today what we're supposed to do is the charge conference, which is going over what Diddy is going to be charged with and the jury instructions, the paperwork that the jury is going to be getting, okay? For those of you who just came in, yes, court just adjourned at 8 p.m. A lot of people had left. We stuck around. I think Law and Crime is still here, or maybe somebody from ABC is still here. Just nuts, just a big, big day, okay? So I'm gonna walk you through it, and also stay tuned, because at the end, I have an update for the schedule, of closing arguments. It is going to change. Mark Agnifilo asked Ms. Shapiro to ask the judge for a change, and it was granted. So there's gonna be a little change. The government is not happy with the change at all. Maureen Comey tried to stop it, tried to block it, and I'll let you know about that, okay? So a little bit of some contentious back and forth about closing arguments, and Maureen Comey was like, I feel like Mr. Agnifilo is doing this because he's playing games, and we don't like this. The government does not approve this. Stay tuned. I'll let you know about the charging conference and the update for closing arguments, all right? So the judge comes in today. So just for those of you who don't know, the charging conference was supposed to start at 10 a.m. Then it's like, okay, you know what? I know you guys are gonna have a lot of objections. Let's start at 12 p.m. Then we get word, like I got here like 10:30, 11 o'clock. Before they even let us in, they're like, oh, the judge wants to delay it a little bit more. We're only gonna start at 2 o'clock. We said, okay, no problem. So 10 a.m., 12, 2. So we all go in, the judge comes in and he's like, man, this is the most people I've seen in a charge conference. 100%, I said that as I was sitting down. There was a different vibe in the court today. A lot of people were in court. And I was like, why are there so many people? More press, more everything. And then it dawned on me, because we all woke up this morning with the headline of the government is changing its charges. Some people misrepresented what's actually happened, saying the government dropped RICO. I came out here in the morning on my live. I was actually here early, so I got to give you guys a little bit more time than I normally have. And I was able to really, I hope, get across, at least to my viewers, that the government did not drop their RICO case. There's predicate acts inside the RICO, and they dropped some of those. I explained that tonight. You can go watch the live if you want to. I'll get into it a little bit more. I really don't have time tonight. Like I said, the sun is going down, and so I'm gonna try to zoom through. Tomorrow morning, Court is going to start a little bit later. I'm going to try to come on tomorrow morning at around 7-ish, and I'll try to give you more information than I have now, okay? Because I can only get to stay on for like 25 more minutes. Anyways, so the judge comes on and says, wow, there's a lot of people here today. Then Ms. Shapiro, who is Diddy's defense attorney, she gets up and she's like, Your Honor, I know we said we were going to start at 10 and then 12 and 2 and 3. We need 45 more minutes. So the judge is like, fine, I'll give you guys another 45 minutes. We only got started today at 4 p.m. I have here, the courtroom is packed, Quincy is here, the nephews are here, the family is here, and a lot more press is here, okay? So they've agreed on the jury verdict form. That was fine. I showed you guys that a little bit today. This is the form that they're gonna have to fill out. Guilty, not guilty, you know, SCX trafficking with Cassie, guilty, not guilty. Instead of them just saying guilty, not guilty, they have a form to fill out so they could get a little bit more, they're trying to make the jury think a little bit more, okay? Again, like I said, I don't have time right now. Watch today's live. I break down and actually show you from my other phone what the jury form is gonna look like. So now with the charges, they go through page 1, they said that's fine, 2, 3, 4, they get to page 15. Now, page 15, the conspiracy charge. The feds wanted to add language to the conspiracy charge, saying that the co-conspirators don't need to know the other criminal the other people who are in the other criminal organization, and they didn't know that Diddy was causing crime. Let me break that down. What is in the charge? We talked about this earlier, and I have a little note here. It said, I was right. The charge for RICO is that it's a criminal organization. And what the prosecution is trying to tell you is that Diddy was causing crimes, and doesn't matter that the other people in his organization didn't know about the crimes, and it doesn't matter that they weren't conspiring to do the crimes. The fact they were there and Diddy was having them commit crimes, that should be charged for RICO, and they would like to try to add that in. Of course, the defense does not want to add that in because grounds for RICO, or what RICO is that it's a criminal organization, and his co-conspirators need to know the other criminals in the organization. So the prosecutions said that they realized that they want to make this change because of Rule 29. I told you guys that this morning. I feel like Diddy's team kind of played their hand a little too early, and they made the point that, hey, Diddy, yes, did break some rules and break some laws. However, this does not fall under RICO because, for example, like Brandon Paul and KK, they were not always with him when he was breaking the laws. And a lot of the times, they didn't even know what was going on during these freak-offs. Brandon Paul was like, yo, I saw Jane come in there. Looked like they were just having a hotel night with their boyfriend and girlfriend. So Diddy's defense made a strong point as to say, yes, he had his organization and yes, he had his assistants, but they weren't actually conspiring together to help him SCX traffic Cassie and Jane. Therefore, he should be acquitted of RICO. So what the prosecution wants to try to put into the charge is, under our charge of RICO, judge, please put that his assistants and his workers don't have to be conspiring together to cause the crime. They don't even have to know that a crime is going on. What are you talking about? How can that be RICO? Anyways, don't even waste time on that. The judge was like, sorry, I do not agree with that. I'm not going to put language that KK didn't have to know and Brandon Paul didn't have to know. You could say that in closing arguments if you want, but on the charges, yes, the prosecution is going to have to prove, the feds are going to have to prove that if you want to charge for a RICO, a criminal organization, that KK and other people, not only just KK, but his assistants, everybody in the organization came together to help Diddy cause crimes and break the law. Okay, so that was one of the first things that the feds lost on. The second thing was on page 13, line 22 and 25. The defense wanted to take out action speaks louder than words, because that is making people think that one thing is more important. Like I said to you guys earlier today, there's one thing to argue on the street and hey, say action speaks louder than words, but in a courtroom, everything is very, very particular. So they wanted to take out under, I don't remember exactly, the fact of there was a line that says action speaks louder than words, not necessarily in the court of law. Words do mean something. And I think that has to do with the fact that there was a lot of testimony with text messages, okay? So the defense won that argument. They jumped back to page 12. This was the feds. The feds said they agreed with, agreeing with one or other person of the pattern of racketeering. Oh, I think this has to do, and by the way, they were going so fast today and reading so many things in clauses, it was hard for me to write and keep up. But what I think this is agreeing with one or the other of a pattern of racketeering, meaning that the feds don't want the charge to say, for example, Brendan and KK, D-Rock, all of those other people who are alleged, or what we might think co-conspirators, or the people who are in the organization, they don't have to agree together on whatever laws that they're breaking. But again, the judge overruled it and said, no, I'm not going to put that in here. The prosecution is trying to, again, because Shapiro made the point yesterday in Rule 29, hey, we have seen countless amount of testimonies from people that worked with Diddy, and they were not aware of the SCX trafficking. They weren't aware of a lot of the things that were going on, which is grounds, which you need to prove RICO. You need a organization. So the prosecution now, they know because of Rule 29 and Shapiro saying all of the reasons why she wants this thrown out of court. It gave them a window into knowing what the defense is going to say, what the defense is going to say in their closing arguments, and what the closing arguments are going to try to prove to the jury, and why they don't feel like they made grounds for RICO, that the government has not proven RICO charges. So the government's last hurrah is trying to put in the charging conference and in the charging paperwork that Diddy's team didn't have to know about the crimes. They didn't have to come together and conspire about the crimes, which really doesn't make sense because what's the point of RICO? Here, this one, the defense lost. That the purpose of the group must be to commit the intent as a whole and not as a sole purpose. The feds say that Diddy was living, oh, sorry, okay, I know what this is. That Diddy's life was enough. So what the defense wants to say is, just like I've been talking about for the past 5 minutes, is the group has to come together, okay? The organization has to come together. But the defense wants to say them coming together for the sole purpose of Diddy's benefit isn't enough. But the defense lost that. So the judge says, no, we will allow that. You can't have your cake and eat it too. So everybody's coming together to cause a crime, right? That would be RICO. Diddy's defense is trying to say, hey, a crime can't be one person's sole purpose. But the judge did not allow it. The judge is allowing, if the government can prove that everybody was coming together, that Diddy's lifestyle, Diddy's crazy lifestyle, freak-off lifestyle, is enough of a crime if they are all together. So that's why I say the judge is really fair. Everybody has to know and everybody has to conspire. Yes, they have to prove that. Diddy's defense team is like, yeah, conspire to do crimes in New York City? No, conspire just for Diddy's benefit is enough. That is enough. Diddy's benefit, Diddy's freak off, getting Diddy DRUGs, anything of the sole benefit of Diddy is enough to find him on grounds of RICO. Diddy's team thinks that it should be a wide array of crimes. No, the fact of just Diddy himself is enough. So the prosecution actually won that one, which I think is very, very fair. I don't think the defense has to worry too much about that because they're going to have a very hard time proving that everybody on his team was aware of all of the crimes. I think that's where the defense really wins. Was Brendan was Brendan Paul aware of all of the SEX trafficking? No, because he testified that he wasn't. Was KK aware of all of the sex trafficking? She was privy to a little bit more information, Kig Nights and Freak Off, but was she aware? Is there any testimony that says, yo, guys, we all need to come together. Come on, crew. Let's have a group meeting. Here we go. All 10 of us. You guys are already all assistants, all head of departments that work at Combs Enterprises and Sean. Are you guys ready? Okay. How are we going to help Diddy do SEX trafficking? That would be grounds for RICO. How are we going to all come together in a meeting and help Diddy traffic Cassie? And how are we going to help Diddy traffic Jane? That would be grounds for RICO. And again, that is just the SEX in RICO. Yes, there's also bribery, there's arson or whatever, etc. But even with those bribery, arson or whatever, blah, 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 it has to be not just one person committing the act. It has to be the team committing the act, okay? I'll go over a few more. Like I said, there's a lot. When I read stuff, then I get into it, right? And I really can't stand here long. It's gonna get dark and I have to go home. I gotta sleep. I haven't eaten. It's craziness. Anyways, let me tell you a few more. Page 15. Not everybody has to be or think the same way. Again, this is another thing. The feds lost. They tried to put this in. The feds proposal. We want it to be clear that different people can come and go, but the core focus has to be the same. So what they're trying to say, which is a pretty good point, they're trying to say, okay, even if you say that everybody has to conspire and that's grounds for RICO, we want to put in that some people can come and go. So let's say you have 10 people conspiring. Let's say 3 people leave and 3 new people come in. You cannot say that's no longer RICO because it's not the same people. The prosecution is basically trying to say, who cares how many people come and go, as long as the people who's in the area or in the vicinity of, let's say, like a KK meeting, whether they're new or whether they're old, whether they come and whether they go, as long as they're conspiring together to cause crimes for Diddy, that's grounds for RICO. So that was not allowed. The feds tried it. I thought that should be fair, but the judge denied it, okay? Page 16, it was something small. Page 18 was something that the defense tried to put in. I didn't even write it down because they were going so fast. Page 19, this is something the defense lost. The defense wants to add that each person must conspire to commit each element of the crime. All right, so this is Driscoll, the young guy that works with Shapiro. He is amazing. He made so many great points. He lost his point because he knows that he gained it a little bit in the beginning where they have to conspire, but he was trying to get in that each person, meaning each of the 10 people that are focused on helping Diddy cause crimes, they have to be committed to each element of each crime. Bro, like, I think he's a great lawyer, but even that was a stretch. The judge was like, whoa, bro, take it easy. They have to conspire to commit and help Diddy with crimes, not every single element, meaning that like you be with them like every step of the way. That's a little pushing it, but he did have some strong points. All right, quickly here, let me see some other ones. What is this here now? Lines, threat of reasonable intimidation. Okay, let's skip that one. I'll tell you guys a little bit more tomorrow, okay? The government is not required to prove that there was an ongoing investigation. Oh, this is something about a nexus requirement. I'll tell you guys about that tomorrow. Sorry. Hey, how are you? Where's that guy that was just there with this beard? He's a little bit, yeah, exactly. Gotta be careful with that guy. All right, page 30. What is this? Does charging the jury with a predicate acts force of labor? Okay, we'll talk about that tomorrow. This is another one that government, okay, they're talking about now forced labor, labor services. Oh, hey, here's something that's good. The government tried to put in and say labor services for forced labor can include SEX acts. So this is under RICO, the forced labor. They want to try to say Diddy trying to make Jane and Cassie do SEX services should fall under forced labor. Okay, that's a little bit of a stretch. The judge was like, yeah, denied. Let's keep it separate. Forced labor is forced labor and SEX trafficking is SEX trafficking. Let's not conflate the two. The government tried. And by the way, just as I continue, this, even if they get denied or they tried, like I just said, the government tried something, a hoorah, they got denied. Drexler, who is Shapiro's assistant, it's their job. It's a prosecution's job to try to get as much as they can for their case, and it's Diddy's team's job to try to get as much as they can, regardless of how frivolous it is, or how much of a stretch. It's their job. They conspire, they get together, they're like, yo, let's try all these 10 things. Even if we get 3 or 4, it's a win for us, okay? So some of it might seem crazy to you guys, but it's their job, okay? Page 32, payment or non-payment has nothing. Okay, let's skip that. Let's see, physical restraint is required to make somebody stay. Okay, so the feds want to say is that physical restraint is not required to make somebody stay. They're talking about Jane saying that, you know how people are like, oh, Jane could have left the June 19th where she said that Diddy was putting hands on her. The government wants to say that a physical restraint is not required to make somebody stay. The judge says, listen, I hear you on that, but sorry, we got to deny. So that got thrown out, okay? Then they talked about mens rea. We'll try to talk about that tomorrow. What else? They were talking about buying and selling instructions. Then they got to trafficking. Let me fill, okay, physical restraint is not required. Okay, we'll talk about tomorrow. The government. It says that actual SEX acts do not need to have taken place to break the law. Okay, listen to this one. This is crazy. So, the government wants to say with SEX trafficking that the actual act of SEX does not need to be taken place to be charged with SEX trafficking. Diddy's defense team was like, what did you just say? Can you repeat yourself? The government is like, yes, there are definitely some instances when it did happen, but we would like to leave it in the charge that even if you didn't think that it happened, SEX with sex trafficking, the fact that he wanted to, the fact that he got Jane a house to have SEX, that is enough to convict under SEX trafficking. Shapiro got up and was like, what in the heck? We just went through 7 weeks of testimony and you putting people on the stand saying SEX trafficking was force, fraud, and coercion, that all this, and now you want to try to ask the jury they're not forced to consider that the actual act happened, and it's just enough that he wanted to and that he was trying to force, fraud, and coercion, and even if the act didn't happen, that is when they literally started going back and forth. And the judge was literally trying to interject saying, okay, let me think about it. Then Shapiro was like, hold on a second. This is just ridiculous at this point now. How could you waste our time for 7 weeks talking to us about SEX trafficking, back and forth. The judge literally got up and was like, stop. I know it's late. I know it's 7 o'clock, but I'm taking a break. And he walked out. I'm not saying that the court was in complete disorder, but you're normally supposed to have your objection from the prosecution and have your objection from the defense, and then you let the judge make his decision. But the government was like, ugh, we don't want to lose this point. Diddy's defense team, Shapiro, she was so annoyed about such a request of, you do not need to define that SEX trafficking has to do with the actual act of SEX, but the fact that he got her a house insinuating that he wanted to force, fraud, and coerce her, that is enough to find him guilty on SEX trafficking? This is madness. Anyways, the judge got up and walked away, and he's like, yeah, I'll be back in 10 minutes. I've never seen the judge like that. He's always cool, calm, and collected. Like I told you, he started out, making a little joke, and then it just, he needed a break. Everybody has their breaking point, right? Anyways, we were all shocked by that, so we go out 10 minutes, we come back in. I don't remember what his actual rule on this was. If I'm not mistaken, though, he said that, I think he sided with Diddy's team of saying, yo, I'm not going to put in the charges that you don't have to find that he actually, or that Jane or Cassidy actually had SEX. So he did say that he sided with Diddy's defense team. The jury must come to a conclusion that under force, fraud, and coercion, that either Cassie or Jane did commit the act of SEX, okay? If you want to find him guilty. If you don't think it happened, then he's obviously not guilty, all right? Hold on. Oh, I just had a little side note here, as you guys like to know. While this is going on, all this heated exchange, Diddy has an earpod in. I don't know what he's listening to or what he's doing, and his head was down the whole time. The whole day, this is the first time I saw Diddy kind of like disconnect from what was going on. Yes, the jury is not in today, and it was kind of like a not an official day of court. But I don't know what Diddy was doing. Tenny wasn't there, Mark wasn't there, but Diddy was checked out today. He had his head down and an earbud. From what I know, he's not even allowed earbuds, but maybe, I don't know. I just wanted to put that in the note. Diddy was checked out, okay? They talked about some other charges. They talked about immunity. They said it was not fair. The government wants to try to say, you want to give your names and your IG handles and stuff? I'm joking. Yo, they talked about immunity. The government wants to say it's not fair that the government is saying it's not fair for the defense to be able to tell the jury or have in the jury instructions that just because somebody's granted immunity doesn't mean their testimony is not 100% accurate. At the end of the day, the judge said that he's going to allow in the charge that you should examine somebody's testimony with immunity with greater care. Let me give you some detail of what that means, okay? I think, yeah, this is the last thing that I'm going to tell you about the closing arguments because I got to go. It's already 30 minutes. But listen to this, very important, okay? Immunity is given to somebody that the government has charged or found guilty of some sort of crime, all right? So you get arrested and you're like, cool. You want to go to jail or do you want to testify for us? Most people, 9 times out of 10, depending on how long the charge is, don't want to face years in jail, so they work with the police. And we've seen Brendan Paul do that. Actually, Jane was granted immunity. So when you get immunity, you no longer have the charges, quote unquote, but they will give you a chance to get on the stand, testify for them, and as long as you are honest in your testimony, they won't use any of your testimony against you. So you can plead the fifth, they give you immunity, and you get to talk, say your piece, and you don't go to jail. They do that when you're small or middle, when they're trying to get the head, and the head right now is Diddy. So they'll let Brandon Paul walk, they'll let Jane walk because they want Diddy. So what Diddy's defense team wants to put in the jury instructions and they want to put in the charging summary is, hey, jury, just keep in mind that this person, and this person, and this person, and that person that testified that had immunity, just know that they were charged with something and they have what's the word I'm looking for? They have a motive to tell you what the prosecution wants to hear. Because if they tell you what the prosecution wants to hear, they're not going to get charged anymore and they get to walk. So is their testimony 100%? I don't know. That's up for you to decide. But we just wanted to remind you that they're not just here testifying because they want to testify. Like Cassie's here because she wants to testify. She wants Diddy to go to jail. She's a willing participant. But some other people might be participating and might be testifying because they have immunity. So watch out for those testimonies. The prosecution tried to get that thrown out. The judge said that he would allow that back in, if I'm not mistaken. Not allow that back in, but he will allow it to stay in, if I'm not mistaken. The judge got a little bit fed up and he was like, I'll think about it tonight. Everything was just going crazy. They turned off the air conditioning. It got wild. Quick little things before I tell you about closing arguments, and then I'll go to the comments quick. This I found pretty interesting. Diddy's team wants to remove the headers for each in the document, and they want to remove the table of contents. All know table of contents are just like, hey, if I want to, like you open the first page and you go to table of contents, like, hey, I want to know about bribery. It's on page 30. Okay, let me skip to that. Diddy's defense team wants to take the table of contents out, and they want to take out headers. So basically, they want to make it harder for the jury to find things that they're looking for in the charge. Now, just quickly, I haven't had time to think about this. If you're making it more difficult for and the judge said yes, by the way, if you're making it a little bit more difficult for the jury to find things, like I said earlier today, if the jury is rushing with something, or if they feel rushed or they feel they don't have an answer, they're more susceptible to give a verdict of not guilty. I don't understand this. I want to go home. I'm just going to say not guilty. Like, I don't understand. Most people are not going to say, well, I don't understand, but whatever, send them to jail for life. When you quickly want to get over something, you take the lesser right? So if you have a choice to send Diddy to jail for the rest of his life, or you have a choice to send him home, and you can't figure the answer out, and you can't find it in this charging document or your jury instructions, and you can't understand, you're probably just gonna be like, I don't know, I have a reasonable doubt. I think that is why they do not want the table of contents. And she was smart. Shapiro kind of put it in just like, oh, Your Honor, I had this in a case one time where the this and that, whatever, blah, blah, but you should just take it out. I think it's a strategy to take it out, and the more confused the jury is, confusion is a doubt when you don't know something. And what do you do when you have reasonable doubt? You're told to give a verdict of not guilty. You have to convict. If you find Diddy guilty, it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. All right? All right, so that was that. I thought it was cool to put in. They had a conversation about voluntary intoxication, and the judge said he's going to get back to them either tonight or tomorrow. What is voluntary intoxication? Diddy is saying, yo, I have no idea what I was doing at the time because I was either drinking or I was on DRUG, so I can't be held liable for things that I didn't know. So basically what the prosecution is saying is like, yo, excuse me, we are talking about things you've done for the past 10 years. You were orchestrating stuff. There's no way you could have been, on DRUGs or drinking repeatedly all the time, every day, morning, noon, or night. So they want to throw out this voluntary intoxication. The judge is going to think about that, okay? In closing, the defense team, Diddy's defense team said, Judge, we just want to put on note, thank you so much for listening to our case today and putting the things on that we want to put on. But we just want to note that anything that we asked you to put in there that you said no, or that we wanted you to take out and you said no, we just want to reserve our right to use all of this against you in appeal court. We are going to use all of this if we get found guilty to appeal. The judge is like, all right. So she just had to throw that in. Now, let me talk to you about how things ended, and then I'll try to go to some questions that you guys may have. So all of this is gone through. A small day turned into a big day, and then Diddy's defense team slides this in. Listen to the work here. Shapiro gets up, and I'm sorry if I keep on forgetting her first name, Miss Shapiro. She gets up and says, Your Honor, before we break, I have a request from Mark Agnifilo, which is Diddy's lead defense attorney. He says, the schedule is tomorrow, 9 a.m., the prosecution is going to start their closing arguments, and the prosecution is supposed to go for 4 hours. So it's 9, and we normally have a break around 10, 11, and then lunch. So it was going to be closing arguments through the break, come back, lunch, and then they were going to go for like a 1 hour more. That would get to 4 hours. So it would be around 1:30, 2 o'clock. Then it would be Mark's turn to give his closing arguments, and he would start around 2 o'clock. Now he says that he wants to go for 4 hours. So he's saying, when you look at that timetable, I do not want to have to start my closing arguments tomorrow around 2:30. The jury's going to be tired. They're going to want to go home. And I don't want to start my closing arguments and have to end at the end of the day. And then on Friday, I have to start back over. They might not remember. Some of them might fall asleep. I would like to have the prosecution give their closing arguments tomorrow on Thursday, and I want to start my closing arguments fresh on Friday. Maureen Comey, the lead prosecutor, gets up and says, listen, they asked me this yesterday. That's why we're bringing it to you, Judge. I have a problem. I thought about it. I don't like this. I want to stick to the schedule. I want him to follow right behind me, and it's maybe to his advantage that he gets to have a fresh mind on Friday. Then Shapiro goes and argues back. Then the judge says, listen, you guys are the ones saying that you guys want to have this done by July 4th. If you guys are delaying tomorrow and cutting your breaks up, that means that the jury might only start deliberating midday Monday. And Shapiro was like, nope, we will go on Friday. We will make sure that we give enough time on Friday. He said, even if he cuts it short, even if he cuts it from 4 hours to 3 hours, we will cut it short, because after the end of their closing arguments, the prosecution has 1 hour rebuttal, and then the judge has to give the jury their jury instructions, okay? So the judge says, listen, if you guys don't use this against me and say that, hey, This trial was supposed to end by July 4th because you guys are the ones that said you wanted a speedy trial. You guys are the ones that said you wanted things to end quickly. Now all of a sudden you're saying you want extra time. Maureen Comey gets up and says, this is my entire point, Your Honor. I think this is gamesmanship. I think Mark Agnifilo and the defense team are trying to play games and they're trying to get an extra day to prepare. I have to come in tomorrow and prepare my closing arguments. They should have been prepared. I feel like there's something going on. They're trying to get an extra day and start only on Friday. There's something going on. I don't like it. Shapiro gets up and is like, listen, I can assure you that's not the case at all. We just want to have a fresh mind and a fresh start. We actually think it might be a little unfair that Maureen gets to start off with a fresh mind. We want the same thing on Friday. And by the way, it's not going to be Maureen Comey doing the closing arguments. It's going to be Slovovic. I'm bad with names, but somebody there, Slovovic, starting with an S and ending with a Vic. So that's who's going to be doing the closing arguments. So the judge awarded Diddy's defense team permission to start their closing arguments on Friday. So Maureen got up and said, all right, so seeing that we're not going to try to pack everything on Thursday, we want to start a little bit later. So the new schedule, news alert, you guys are hearing it from me first. That's why I stayed all the way to the end. Tomorrow, we're still going to go into court at 9 because the judge says just come in just in case. But Maureen, or not Maureen, but Slovenio, the prosecution is going to start their closing arguments. Oh, Lord, this big rat just ran across here. Oh, that's what happens at nighttime, yo. The rats come out. That's why I need to get out of here. Literally and figuratively. So Tenny said, no, not Tenny, I'm getting confused. Tenny wasn't even there today. Yeah, so Maureen said, okay, no problem. We'll start at 10. We'll give our closing arguments. The jury might be able to go home a little bit early. We'll do our little talks or whatever. Friday, the defense team starts the day with their closing arguments. They should be done in 3 or 4 hours, which brings us to a little bit after the lunch break. The prosecution has an hour to rebut. The judge will give the instructions to the jury. I'm sure we will wrap at that point. And then Monday, the jury comes in and starts deliberation. What's up, bro? What do you guys think about that? Do you think it's a strategy? I had thought a couple of days ago that Mark and the defense team would want to try to rush this process, get through closing arguments from the prosecution and theirs, and try to have the jury maybe start even deliberating on Friday, and maybe even get a verdict. If they would be able to start deliberating Friday at, who knows, 10 a.m., 11 a.m. after they get their instructions, they would have 4 or 5 hours in there. Juries have been known to get a verdict out in a couple of hours. A case like this, it's not likely, but I had thought maybe that could be part of their strategy. And as you know, they've been always trying to rush. Something happened, something came up why they want to slow down. Y'all know who's been following this. The defense team has always been rushing. Come on. We want a speedy trial. We want this. Today, hold up. Prosecution, you give your closing. We'll come on Friday. We'll give our closing. Let the jury start deliberation on Monday. Something is up. It's too late for me to talk to sources and find out now. I can't believe it's 8:30 already, but that is what I have for you guys. That is what I have for you. Done. Mic drop. Bam. All right. Let me see. Well, here, I'm not even going to scroll up. I'm just going to go right to the comments. Send me in your comments right now. Let me know what questions you have. Somebody said Diddy is done. His past caught up with him, and he's going to be celebrating the 4th of July with Robert Kelly. Oh, by the way, they brought up Robert Kelly. They brought up R. Kelly in one of these things here today, but I didn't do it. Somebody said, be safe, bro. Thank you. The longer it takes the jury to come with a verdict will be in favor for Diddy. Really? You think so? All right. Well, Lorenzo, that is your decision. I think the longer it takes is the more chance is for people to understand things. I think if it's quicker, it's better for Diddy. Longer, I think it's worse. Just my opinion. Cassie got her money. Time served for Diddy. Let's move on. That definitely is a theory. Somebody said drink water. I know. I didn't even have time to drink water. I didn't even bring anything. I thought I was going to be in court for 2 hours. That's why I didn't have anyways, let me not even get into me. Somebody said not guilty. Somebody says too much bots in the chat. Somebody says good work. Thank you for today's information. Y'all are welcome. Can a lawyer object during closing arguments? So they talked about that today. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to let closing arguments be closing arguments. And a couple of times today, that's what they were talking about. They're like, hey, just want to put you on notice that if you say this in your closing arguments, I'm going to object. So don't do it. And the judge is like, I don't think you guys are going to do that. You wouldn't say that, right? Defense team, they're like, nah, we're not going to say that. So throughout the past couple of days, they've been giving each other like warning shots. Like the day before, Maureen was like, hey, I've been hearing things about like you guys might bringing up like Homeland Security being concentrating on, they should be concentrating on Iran and not be concentrating on Diddy. Y'all are gonna say that in your closing arguments, are you? Because if you do, I'm gonna object. Don't bring up anything of what the government should be spending their money on. Focus on Diddy. And Mark said, you don't have to worry about that. So it's possible you can, but it doesn't look good to a jury. Let me get in here. I'll go to 45, right? Somebody said, thank you. Somebody said, thank you so much for your time and attention to this case. No problem, man. I'm here for y'all. I'm here to work for y'all, so appreciate y'all, right? Great review of the day. Thank you very much. We don't care if Diddy got love for anybody. According to the law, he is not guilty of particular crimes they are trying to charge him with. Respect your opinion. Trent, you're an amazing reporter. Thank you very much. Bah, 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 bah. Somebody said he is going to jail. He's going to jail regardless of which charge. All right. Hey, Roberta, what up, Roberta, in the chat? Roberta, I just want to say something. I know some people are like, oh, he's going to jail regardless. Do you count if, let's say he gets charged for the Mann Act, which I think he'll even get charged guilty for, and the Mann Act has a maximum of 10, but a minimum, I think, of 2 or 3. There's no way the judge is going to give him the maximum because the defense attorneys will literally just be able to say, hey, here are 10 examples of past people that have been charged on the Mann Act, and they got 5 years, and they were trafficking 20 girls. Here's another example of somebody that, got charged, and he had 50 girls, and he got charged 6 years. How are you giving my client 10 years? So just on case study alone, Diddy will probably get 2 years, and he's already been inside for almost a year. He'll probably get off on time served. Do you consider that as guilty as charged if Diddy gets to technically, if he walks, but he's technically charged and found guilty, but he gets to walk and go home after the guilty verdict on that lesser man charge? Let me know what you guys think about that. No need for the defense to rush this criminal part of the trial. Get a good night's sleep, fresh mind, jury sleep in the defense closing. That's a very, very, very good, that's a very good argument. They probably looked and was like, yo, there's no way we're gonna get a verdict back Friday. There's no way we're gonna even be able to get them to deliberate. So you know what? Let's have fresh minds on Friday morning. And I really agree with you. That's a great thing. Sometimes you want something, but you're like, yo, we tried. No, but we'll take the lesser of 2 evils. We're gonna take a fresh mind because let me tell you, by 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, the jury is done. So you don't wanna start your closing arguments and the jury is like this. I've been telling you guys all week. I even saw some security guards nodding off today. Like, people are exhausted, man. Somebody said, where do you get your necklace from? Somebody says, be safe, go home. Yeah, I'm leaving right now. Tish says, the defense knows that the jury is going to do independent research this weekend. Ooh. Oh, and that they don't want the jury rush to make a decision Friday. Ooh, that's why I love reading the comments, because you guys always bring me things that I'm not thinking about. I have been on record multiple times. I even was talking with somebody at, I think, TMZ or CNN today, where I think a big mistake that the judge did is not sequestering the jury. And I'm not saying they are, but how do you expect adults in 2025 not to see something that's going on online? Even if they're not searching for it, it's got to be popping up. You're still using your phone, you're still using your computer, you're still living with people, girlfriends, friends, neighbors. Like, there we go. Somebody said, great job, Trent. Somebody says Diddy is a, I don't know if I could say that on YouTube, but point is that Desiree thinks Diddy is going to jail. And you know what, another thing I love on my chat, and this is what I always love checking, I love how diverse you guys are. I don't want all of you guys to think he's guilty, and I don't want all of you to think that he's not guilty. I love that we could come together, have a conversation on one live. You guys hear what my details are as unbiased as possible. I literally just give you the facts of what's coming on. I let you know if I think it was good or bad, and then you guys still feel free to like discuss in your chat, man, or in the chat. This is the whole point of the Trent Out Loud show and podcast and live. So I thank y'all, man. Trent, the way you hold us down is commendable. I'm glad my guy Trent got us in there. DJ and Tasha Out Louder from Gastonia, North Carolina. Oh, come on and raise up. Take your shirt off. Yo, sorry, Tasha and DJ, those are my people, man. Everyday supporters, Out Louders. Love y'all, man. I really got to come to North Carolina. Starting to look like the lawyers did their job. Speedy trial is looking like it's going to work. We'll see, we'll see. Diddy may walk, but he will never be free. 100%. I said that today. Diddy has a war going on in his mind. He is addicted to DRUGs. He's addicted to a lot of things. He has a lot of issues, but unfortunately, that's not what this case is. This court right behind me is really black and white, and we have to decide first if he's guilty or not guilty. Well, not us, but the jury, right? Regardless of the outcome, if he goes home or if he goes to jail, I really hope that this man gets the help that he needs. Some of you don't feel like he deserves it, but from a mental health standpoint, you know, I always want people to get help, man. We're all humans at the end of the day. Somebody said he's done. Somebody says, let Diddy go free, and I don't care about Cassie because she loved free costs. That's not nice, but hey, respect your opinion, Lorenzo. Somebody said, you're a great job. Get yourself some water and food. 1000%. I need some water. Love your breakdowns. You're the best. Thank you. Is it Raquel? I'm really bad with names. It's my dyslexia, but I think it's Raquel. Thank you. Oh my gosh, the sweat is dripping in my eye. It's still hot out here, even though the sun's gone. Thank you. I'm praying for Diddy and his family. Seems like a shame ritual and a money grab. Trent, you contradict yourself too much. Hey, matter of your own opinion. If you think I'm contradicting myself, that's up to you. I think of myself of seeing things from both ways. You call it contradiction. Tomato, tomato. Whatever it is. Somebody said, free Diddy. Somebody said, you are amazing. Trent, the best reporter. Thank you very much. Cassie needs to go to jail. Trent in the trenches, doing a great job. Thank you, Laura. One Love said, free Diddy. Closing arguments will be a cluster. Okay, you guys are, I can't even read. You guys are commenting so much. Let me scroll down. Oh, I hope I didn't pass Roberta answering my question. Wow, you guys are commenting. Okay, I scrolled down. Okay, I'm gonna go to 50 minutes. I'll do another 3.5 minutes, okay? And then I gotta go because I need to eat and I need to drink. Oh my gosh, we got a super chat. Tangi Williams, thank you. Tangi Williams said, keep going. I've been watching you since you started the Diddy trial. I was with, I'm not gonna say a YouTuber's name because I don't wanna call it any other YouTubers. I was with, but she is, okay, I'm not even gonna say that. I didn't know the really real until I started watching you. Thank you very much, Sanji. Sorry I didn't read your whole comment, but I'm not down with talking about other YouTubers or content creators. There's only 14 of us. We all sit together. We all have different opinions and different views. We are colleagues, and y'all know me, I respect everyone's opinion. And I respect your opinion for wanting to say whatever you want to say. And thank you for watching my channel, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to read out things that are not saying nice things about colleagues, all right? Especially content creators, man. We're all out here trying to do our best. Somebody said, love y'all. Somebody said, Cassie and the hotel. Something is assorted. Somebody said, Cassie, bye, go to jail. Y'all are harsh, yo. Respect and appreciate your commentary. Thank you very much. Cassie wanted some money and still didn't stop Diddy. Thank you so much, Cassie. Whatever, blah, 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 boom, boom, boom. Brooklyn, Cassie loved it. D-Town, great job. How much of a mistake did Diddy make choosing I always mess up Mark's name. Algofino over Steele. Steele is still there. He was there today. Look, I really like Nicole. I really like Brian Steele. I like Mark. I feel like he's a little bit too much of a joker, but at the end of the day, he might be the lead counsel, but he is just there. Think about him as like a coach, and think about Brian Steele and Tenny and all of them as players. So, you know, you got to think that he's Phil Jackson. Brian Steele is still there, and he's Jordan or Kobe or Shaq. You got to think about it like that. They play as a team. Somebody, Tangi Williams said, you are fair. Thank you very much. Is that the same person that just gave the other super chat? Yes. Thank you, Tangi. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that for the second super chat. I honestly disagree. I doubt the jury even wants to go home thinking about the case. It took so much of their time and really like they're over it. Yes and no, but we don't have time to talk too much about that. Okay, I gotta scroll down. I think there's another super chat that just came out. Another super chat. Willis, thank you. New Out Louder, bro. Check marking. in from San Francisco. Well, I love Frisco, man. I love California. I used to live out there, man. Shout out to LA, San Francisco, everything. The whole California, massive. Trent, be careful out there, bro. After hours, even in the courthouse, this is NYNY. Great reporting. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Don't worry, I used to live in New York, Queens, Brooklyn, Flatbush, Bronx. I'm really aware of New York. I'm actually more afraid of the rats than the people, man. That's the truth be told. Woo! That's why you see all these leaves falling and I'm like looking around because I know there's 2 rats literally like 10 feet away from me. And I'm afraid that they're like gonna try and like run up on my leg or something. Great job, Trent, go home. All right, we have 2 more seconds. All right, we made it to 50 minutes. Love y'all, love y'all. Yeah, I wanted to try to go even for an hour. I was thinking about it, but the sun's gonna go down. You guys won't even be able to see me. I love y'all. Tomorrow is the prosecution's closing arguments. They start at 10 p.m. They start at 10 a.m. Court starts at 9. I will be right here. I'll probably go live around 7 a.m., my usual time. I'll let you know if anything I missed today, let you know if any sources I hear, and regular schedule tomorrow, around 7 a.m., around 12 or 1, and then a wrap up at the end of the day, all right? I'll see y'all tomorrow. Thanks for kicking with me. Thanks for supporting me. And for my real out louders, you know that I normally have an episode tonight, recorded episode of other entertainment news and other viral things. I will not be able to do that. There is no time for me to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I cannot do that. It will take me till like 2 o'clock in the morning and then I have 1 hour sleep. I want to be very focused tomorrow for closing arguments and take really, really great notes. Sorry to my regular viewers. No Trent Out Loud podcast tonight, all right? We got to concentrate on our lives and we got to concentrate on bringing you guys the latest in the Diddy case, all right? I'm out. I'll see y'all tomorrow, man. Peace!